Our next speaker is ready. So I'd like to give it up to Joep van Duinen from Poki, who's going to talk about their greatest hits.
Thanks, Martina. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I wanted to start off with a short poll. Who is thinking of launching their game on the web at the moment? Okay. Not too bad, not too bad. Let's see how many of you I can persuade at the end of the talk. We'll do the poll at the end of it. So today I'll be talking about some of the biggest games that we launched on Poki. A little bit about me. I'm Joep, head of game dev relations on Poki. Been working for the company for all over 11 years, so a bit of a web games dinosaur, if you will. Seen the heydays of Flash, and now happy to see the revival of HTML5 as the predecessor of it. In my free time, I like to play the piano, do some sports. This is me doing the half marathon last week in Egmond aan Zee, and play some games, obviously. So what are we seeing in the market? You've probably seen some footage of news about the web recently. I think we like to call it a perfect storm for web games at the moment. So a maturing ecosystem. You see technologies like Web GPU launching, allowing for high fidelity graphics to be played in the browser. Internet speeds are catching up, so 5G is going to be launched, powerful devices, so you basically have a lot of computing power in your pocket. And that, I think, results in web engines doubling down on the web as an ecosystem. So our friends from Default have a lightweight HTML5 engine. Obviously, Unity also works on the web with Unity 6. And all in all, I think we also see conventional platforms are under pressure. So if you're a mobile developer right now, it's not weird to be struggling in terms of your revenue or turnover. That's where Poki comes in. We've been doubling down or riding that perfect storm on the web for over a decade. At the moment, we're market leaders in the space, reaching over 70 million monthly active users, 5 million DAU, and we service a global game developer community of over 500 devs, including big ones like Saibo, like Imanji, but also indie developers. I think there's some here in the crowd, actually. Our most important regions are the US, Europe, and exponential growth in Asia. It's good to mention that we are a cross-device platform, meaning that we reach 60% of our players on desktop at the moment and 40% on mobile. So on to the actual know-how. So the first case is about tech. Because we're a web-based platform, optimizing your game for a wide variety of hardware, but also internet speeds, I think is vital to create a hit game in this space. Stickman Hook, created by the renowned Parisian developer Madbox. They initially started with a Unity WebGL export, and from there transitioned into a lightweight HTML5 game. Even now, I think they reach over 250,000 DAU, and up until now, they accumulated more than 460 million players. So that's free of cost, all marginal profits on your P&L, basically. What they really excel at is a metric we call conversion to play. And that metric basically tries to capture how many players move into the playing state of your game after clicking on the thumbnail on the platform. So basically trying to capture how well you optimize your game for web. So how did they do it? Obviously, it starts with picking the right engine. So they started with a Unity WebGL export, and from there invested in a lightweight HTML5 build. But nowadays, I think all of the major engines allow for an export to the web. From there, it's about applying best practices. So think about progressive loading. What amount of the game do you need to load initially, and what can you also load later on? So anything that is not vital for the early playing state, you can stream later in the game. And from there also make it fun. I think on average a player would wait maybe 5 to 10 seconds for your game to be loaded in your browser. What can you do to make it a nice experience? So make it branded, play around with the loading screen. So as mentioned, Madbox first initially started with a WebGL port of their game, which is quite chunky in terms of file size. It was actually a 40 megabytes game, and the median loading time of that was almost 30 seconds, which I think is quite a big number. And that conversion to play of their game was 50%, meaning they lost 50% on the top of the funnel in their game. So they worked on making that a lightweight game. They managed to get over 36 megabytes off the top, resulting in a whopping improvement of, let's see, it's 4 seconds median loading time. And with that also a conversion to play of 72%. I think all in all, it's a better experience for the player because, they get to play the game sooner, but it also helps us do UA and do promotions for the game, meaning more games and more players are being able to monetize in the end. Let's see. I think the second learning for Stickman Hook was easy access. I think that's a brand promise for Poki as a whole, but I think it's definitely a learning for how to create good web games. And with easy access, we mean make your game accessible for a broad audience. So one click to start. Don't throw any big tutorials or splash screens or loading screens on top of the game. Make sure that you engage the player as quick as possible. So pick up and play. Really try to get across the core principle and the mechanic of your game early on. Hopefully resulting in instant fun. Case 2, it's about engagement. Not a metric that is weird for you whenever you're in game development, but especially good for web. It's Monkey Mart. I think the best simulation game that we have on Poki right now. I think riding the wave of that trend also in the native stores. Generating a whopping 340 million gameplays in total, 300K daily active users. I think what they really excelled at is the play time of the game. So they've been able to retain players over and over again. How did they do it? I think by making sure that the cross-device playability of the game is super good. So if you look at the controls of the game, they move over to both desktop devices but also mobile devices quite naturally, resulting in a high quality UX on all devices. I think it's about the small nuances here. So if you look at the camera angle, for instance, on desktop, which is the top left versus mobile, you see that they move back a little bit. It might seem like a small change, but I think it's these minor nuances that make or break your game on the web. Creating a strong visual identity. I think unlike other platforms, I think web is really about visuals. So you can see that there's almost none contextual factors for the player to take into account when choosing which game to play. So I think nailing your visual identity, playing around with a basic storyline for your game, trying to understand what you want to get across for your player and for your brand on Poki. And you can see that the players really like it when you do. So Monkey Mart, I think, is one of the beloved IPs on the web, and I think there's much more to gain there. Keep it fresh. So when talking about live ops for web, like we don't have any progression systems or account systems, I do think it is important for a game to be renewed and to re-engage your players with new content for the game. So what Tiny Dobbins did, they really had I think a good live ops strategy here, updating the game with seasonal events, so with Halloween or Christmas, and with that also making sure that the game stayed on top of the platform. So the homepage of Poki and all of our algorithm is performance-based, meaning that if you update your game, we'll re-promote you on the platform across the board. And we also can update our marketing campaigns, and with that, we loop players into the game. Last use case, it's about shareability. I think web by nature is quite social. I think you can instantly share any URL with your friends via WhatsApp, via Telegram, or any other chat service. So I think this is something that you as a developer should take into account when developing games for the web. A team that did that, well, I say a team, it's actually a one-person developer. It's Adam from Unept. That's a cool thing about web as well, is that you don't need a super big team or super big production timeline to get a hit. So Adam is a hobbyist developer from the US. He made the game in Stencil, which is a no-code engine. It used to be big in the Flash days as well. And I think what made the game excel was mostly the social media impressions and the awareness that it gained on TikTok and YouTube. So how did he do it? I think he really had a game design, or has a game design, which is shareable across different media. So I think the terminology of transmedia has been coined in recent days. I think Level Devil is a prime example of that, where basically every other level could be a YouTube or a TikTok short on itself. And as you can see, he really tried to nurture the frustration of the player in his game design, but also make it a little wonky and funny. I think that's also the nice thing about web. It's not so much about super serious gaming, like you can play around and have fun while doing it. Also think about adding some type of multiplayer in your game, whether that's local multiplayer or live multiplayer, or something fun like an Easter egg. I think that sums it up. So to summarize, size matters. The smaller your game, I think the better your game will perform in the long run. Easy access, so when you have that foundation, make sure that you drive your players through the game as quick as possible. Cross-device playability, we're a cross-platform, cross-device platform, meaning you should optimize for both desktop and mobile, and then have some sort of live ops strategy to push your game and increase the longevity of it. And then look for some sort of social and viral component in your game. You're not on your own. We have a developer product called Poki for developers, and basically it's a full service product including free hosting, marketing, user feedback, and super fast payments. We also have free play testing, so if you have a game concept laying around, you can just submit it to the product, and from there see if it resonates with the web players. That's it. If you want to get started, you can scan the QR code. We're also here at the expo. I think our booth number is G13, so feel free to drop by, and we'll tell you more about Poki.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. Any questions? I see one over there. I'll come your way. Or no, we have another microphone. Great.
Super cool presentation. It's super effective being able to play straight away like Subway Surfer while you're presenting. It's like very good. On the developer's website in the SDK, I didn't see any mention of cross-play possibilities. Is that something you offer? Being able to share your profile between the web version of the game and another app, for instance.
Yeah, we do. We have a shareable URL system that is, I think, in the SDK docs. But if you cannot find it, I'll maybe come to you after the talk.
Thank you.
Should be there.
And one question over here.
Hey, Joep, thanks so much for the presentation. There was a lot of information, obviously, about the performance, the users, engagement, that kind of stuff. But what can you tell us in terms of the monetization side of things? Because I'm sure that's a very important subject for the developers looking to put their games on your service. So, yeah, you know, what that looks like in terms of what sort of revenues they could expect, what sort of revenue share, that kind of stuff. I'd love to hear more about it. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's see where to start. I think there were a lot of questions in one. So in terms of monetization, we are ad-based. We are actively looking into other monetization models, but currently it's ads only. And we share both a 50-50 as well as 100% of revenue with the developer, depending whether we do the marketing or the developer does the marketing themselves. Then in terms of opportunity, I would say that the best performing developer teams can earn up to even $1 million. And then I think we pride ourselves with the fact that over 100 developer teams are able to make a living out of their web games at the moment.
Question over there.
How you mentioned promotional campaigns a few times. How many of your 70 million users are coming like directly from your advertising campaigns? I'm sure Crazy Games would like to know too, probably.
I guess so. It's a big portion, but I think because we've been at it for over a decade, we also have a lot of branding traffic. So we're a global platform. We're called Poki across the globe. So I think it's a healthy division there between both paid players as well as organic players.
Another thing I was wondering about, actually, on your platform, through your platform, what kind of insights can developers gain about the sort of statistics of their game?
Good question. So I think we have sort of the fundamental KPIs that drive your promotions on the platform. So it's ads, it's playtime, it's engagement. But we also offer like a Sentry-like tool showing how technically excellent your game is in the browser. So if you have a problem on Chrome 95 or anything, or a specific device, we also fetch that from the browser system. And then there's user feedback, payments. It's quite a slate of services, actually.
And having experienced your user playtesting feedback through the platform, I have to say it was really immensely helpful and really fantastic. So that's definitely a great tool.
Nice.
Can you also share a little bit more about sort of the audience? Like, does it skew kind of your younger, or is it more like an older audience?
No, it's definitely skewed to a younger audience. So it's kids of all ages, I would say. But I think over time these kids will grow older. So yeah, it's getting older, I would say.
Last round for questions. Anyone? All right. Thank you so much, Joep.